Hey guys, my name is Dante, and today I'm going to talk about the iPad Pro. Who is it for? Is it worth the investment? Can it replace your laptop? And I will be talking from both entertainment standpoints. I own an entertainment company. I do a lot of Photoshop, a lot of Final Cut. I do a lot of editing, and also from a financial standpoint, I am also a day trader. I've been doing that for almost 10 years now, and I do both. I do both very frequently, and they're both a big part of my life. So, first and foremost, I think the question to ask yourself is this going to be your primary device on the go or your primary device, period? So, what I mean by that is if you already have an iMac or a MacBook Pro and you have it, and you're considering an iPad Pro to have it on the go, whether it be for notes, for college, or whatever, in my personal opinion, it's a fantastic device. And if you already have a Mac, whether it be a Mac Pro or iMac, it is definitely a worthwhile consideration. You can very much start something there and finish it here, like Apple likes to promote it. What I mean by that is if I'm using, for example, Final Cut on my MacBook Pro, I can very much open it in iMovie if I'm photoshopping something, depending to what capacity. And again, this goes back to what extent are you wanting to use your professional services or your professional business on the iPad Pro. Photoshop is a great example. I think it's fantastic. I use Photoshop all the time on my iMac and my MacBook Pro. Affinity Photo obviously is the iPad most close, or I think the closest comparison to Photoshop, but I will say I think Affinity Photo is a lot more intuitive and almost easier to use. So it really depends to what capacity you need professional creative services. If you're a YouTuber or a YouTube vlogger, or even someone that's just doing a lot of thumbnail and you're getting started with your YouTube, in some way I think you might be doing yourself a favor, because a lot of the apps that are not available on the iPad, because it's not a computer, quote unquote, there are equivalent software for the iPad like Affinity Photo that are actually, in my opinion, a lot more intuitive to use and easy to use. So I think when it comes to that, I think it's very much a worthwhile consideration. Also, for example, when it comes to day trading, I can do it all on the iPad. I can do the charting on TD Ameritrade, on Interactive Brokers. I can place my trades. I can do split screen, which is great. I have had literally no restrictions using the iPad versus a MacBook Pro. Now, obviously, if I'm using something like multi-charting or something like that, I need dual monitors, and that's just kind of a preference. But it can be done on the iPad Pro as far as getting the actual work done, as far as placing the trade. I can run a PowerPoint presentation from the iPad Pro. So, and then if you're also considering, well, Ruben, the iPad Pro is a tablet, whereas the MacBook Air, for example, is a full functioning operating system. And then this is where the preference really, I think, comes into play. When it comes to the iPad Pro, yes, it's a full quote-unquote computer. You can run software that you can't run on an iOS device, but then it goes back to what are your primary functions. For example, I'm a huge note taker. I love taking notes. I study a ton. I'm always in class, whether it's for real estate or stock trading or with mentors and whatnot. And I love the fact that on the iPad Pro, I mean, real estate, especially in Los Angeles, is not super cheap. So to have a ton of books just shoved away in a closet that I might not always reference, I love the fact that I can pick up the iPad Pro and I can take a picture of something in a book that I might be really, really interested in, or that I feel like I need to take notes of. So, for example, I might take a picture of something that I want to remember from like a textbook or a special note or whatever, and I can index it all from the iOS device. So if I put, for example, options trading on the iOS device or on the iPad, I can pull up all the notes, whether they were taken with a pencil or whether they were taken with a camera or whatever. All the notes can be indexed with a single device that you might not later reference because you just simply forgot that they're there. I can take a picture of, you know, the board where the instructor is talking, or the presenter, or the whoever, which you simply cannot do with, or at least not intuitively, with the iPad Pro or the MacBook Pro or anything else, because they're just not, you would have to flip the computer over to do that. When it comes to value and price, again, it just kind of depends on what you're using it for. A Wacom or a lot of other drawing and styling devices are far more expensive than the iPad Pro, and you don't have an operating system really to go with it. So when it comes to the drawing capabilities, if you're a drawer, if you're a note taker, if you're an artist, I don't think, I very much think it's worth the value of the iPad Pro versus maybe a MacBook Air, especially if you already have an iMac or a MacBook Pro. You already have the operating system. You can pick up just about, in my experience, anything you've left off on your iMac or MacBook Pro and pick it right back up on your iPad Pro. The only restrictions that I've come across at all are Blackboard, which is not really so much a restriction on the iPad as much as it's a restriction on our academy, that they don't allow Blackboard to really access the content on things outside of a computer, and that's just for security purposes, I think. So it's that, and then Salesforce, I've had some challenges with as well. Again, it could be as easy as just calling them and maybe they can fix the glitch. But those are literally only the two restrictions that I've found using the iPad Pro versus a full iOS operating system. If you're, like I said, if you're getting started, so I think, excuse me, so if you are a business professional, not doing business intensive, so if you're maybe like a financial advisor, if you're a school teacher and you already have a computer, I think it's fantastic. I think it's a fantastic alternative with unique features that a laptop wouldn't give you, like drawing and note taking and all of that, and indexing those things. You can run, like I said, I've run PowerPoint without a problem. I've run pretty much every software without a problem. The only thing that really bothers me is that it's not using the USB-C or Thunderbolt 3.1, because I was really hoping for that. I was hoping to use a lot of the dongles that I have for my 2016-17 MacBook Pro and use the same things on the iPad Pro. However, that is not a possibility because it uses the classic lightning port. But then again, if it's on your iCloud, you can access it all with the notes on the iPad Pro. So going back to the main question, I think it really just depends on who you are. I think if you're an aspiring vlogger or you're starting a YouTube channel, I think in a lot of ways, even though you don't have a lot of the capabilities that you have on a computer like Final Cut Pro and a full Adobe suite, I think you might be doing yourself a favor, because if you're coming in with the end goal in mind, I think you can use a lot of the thumbnailing on Affinity Photo. I think it's so much more intuitive than Photoshop. I think it's easier. So you can definitely shoot your YouTube video, shoot your vlog, shoot your whatever, plug it into the iPad with a dongle, which they have a lot of dongles to hook up your camera or your SD card. It automatically imports it more or less. You open it on iMovie. It's pretty easy to edit and to do the thumbnails. Affinity Photo by far I think is my favorite photo editing software. That's probably the main reason why I pulled the trigger on getting my iPad Pro, and it's easier. So If you're almost like a media prosumer, I think you might very well be doing yourself a favor. You're just going to be using alternative apps. So you won't be using, Photoshop. You'll be using Affinity Photo. You might not be using Final Cut Pro. You'll be using iMovie, or there's an app that is more intense, I guess, or it has more capabilities than. There's a few that have more capabilities than iMovie. So you're not limited there. I think where you're gonna run into limitations is when you need multi-screener, like very specific software. Like if you're trying to use something very specific to your job, like Blackboard or like Salesforce, then in that case I would go into an Apple store and try to use that very same software on the iPad Pro and see if it works. But I feel like most people are not using very specific software like that. The people that are considering the MacBook Pro and that are considering the value and pricing. Again, I hope you guys found this video helpful. I will do a follow-up video with any other questions or concerns. But by far, when it comes to note-taking, real real estate is very important to me. And if I can condense all of my notes and all of my thoughts into a single set of pictures, files, and folders to index them all from the iPad Pro, written or otherwise, to me that is a huge plus. I mean, I don't think that could be replaced with anything else that I can imagine. You obviously also can get a SIM card for your iPad, to which you're always gonna have internet. So I think that's another big plus. And I think as we move forward into iOS 11 into the future, I think there's gonna be so much more room for the iPad world to grow and make it even more of a computer replacement. It has the capability. A lot of people will argue that it doesn't actually have it's using a mobile processor, but so do a lot of other laptops. And if we're gonna be honest, if you're using it for vlogging or YouTubing or anything like that, most of your viewership is already on mobile, whether it's on an iPad or the iPhone, or even YouTube Red in a car and they're just listening to you. So I don't think that is a huge disadvantage, since most of the consumption now is moving to mobile. So I don't see how you could get hurt there. So again, I hope you guys found this video helpful. A thumbs up if you liked it, thumbs down if you didn't. If you did like it, I would really appreciate if you subscribe. And I can answer any other questions that anybody else might have regarding the iPad Pro. So thank you so much for watching, guys. Have a great time and happy shopping for your next workstation, and have a great day. Bye.